Their way past security at City Hall to deliver letters to the mayor, letters that bash the way he has handled the crisis with Albuquerque police. In the end, several of the protesters left in handcuffs. Matt has a recap.
Yeah, one word, Liz, wild. That's how you can describe the chaos at the mayor's office yesterday. The protesters said they weren't going to leave until they talked with the mayor or police forced them out. And yes, they did get their wish.
Mayor Richard Berry, I write to demand justice for the victims of police violence in Albuquerque. This office is a crime scene. This is a crime.
Pushed its way past security officers at the reception desk and onto the 11th floor of City Hall about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. They were demanding to see the mayor. The mayor's chief of staff there tried to reason with the group's ringleader, and City Administrative Officer Rob Perry here captured it all on cell phone video. Then one protester, take a look at this, even chained herself to the furniture. When the city told all these folks they would not be seeing the mayor, they read their letters anyway.
Dear Mayor Berry, I'm writing to express my concern about the role of the police force in our community.
A tradition that nurtures a culture of aggressive policing and an expectation of impunity.
City leaders warned the protesters if they did not leave, they would be arrested, and as you can see, that is exactly what happened. They were taken away to an underground tunnel. Then take a look at this. Outside, there was another group of protesters with signs facing a small group of police wearing riot gear, and the protesters were cheering and chanting.
Jail killer cop!
12 of the 13 protesters were arrested, accused of trespassing. That's a misdemeanor. The other is UNM professor David Carrera. He was booked for felony battery on a peace officer. The mayor's office says he pushed a police officer. We just checked, he is still in jail this morning. Also, yesterday was the second time in the past few weeks protesters have basically shut down a city council meeting. You remember the protesters took over a city council meeting about a month ago, and there was the Professor Carrera. The city canceled the council meeting that was supposed to start last night at 5 because the protest had the city hall on lockdown.
We didn't feel like it was going to be fair to the public not to allow them into their own meeting at 5 o'clock, so we thought it would be best to postpone it to another day.
All right, that city council meeting is now scheduled for Monday as a special meeting, which means public comment will not be allowed. Councilors are set to talk about changing the Police Oversight Commission and a possible tax hike in Duke City. Now, last night, just as the protest was getting done, take a look at this. An SUV erupted into flames a few blocks away from City Hall at 4th and Lomas. Someone sent us a cell phone video of it. A lot of black smoke. You can see the flames there. That SUV was destroyed. No one was hurt. Investigators have not said if this was a coincidence or if it was linked to the demonstration.
Overnight, firefighters also had a duplex fire on their hands. The original call came in just before 12 as an outside dumpster fire. Once crews arrived, they saw smoke and flames coming from inside an abandoned duplex apartment. AFD called for a full dispatch and began attacking the fire. There were no injuries. The cause is still unknown. We do now know the name of the 6 people who died in a fiery crash last month in southern New Mexico. All of the victims were from Arizona. The youngest was just 9 years old. The chain reaction crash happened May 22nd on I-10 near Lordsburg when a dust storm caused low visibility. All of the vehicles involved caught fire, including an RV, 3 semi-trucks, and 3 cars. We know that the victims were from Tucson and Circle City, Arizona. And the NTSB is done with its investigation into the plane crash that killed 2 Albuquerque Academy students and a former Olympian from New Mexico a few years back. Pat Porter, a 10,000-meter runner in the 84-88 games, was piloting the plane that crashed in Sedona in July of 2012. His 15-year-old son Connor and his son's friend were all on board. All 3 were killed. The NTSB says the plane failed to rotate correctly and the pilot failed to reject the takeoff, both of which the NTSB says contributed to the crash. No mechanical failures were found. Well, as we mentioned at the top of the newscast, this is primary election day in New Mexico, and by the end of today, we should know who will win a place on the ballot in the November general election.
That's right, Liz. Today, voters will decide which Democrat will take on Governor Susana Martinez come November. The Democrats, Gary King, Alan Weber, Lawrence Real, Howie Morales, Linda Lopez, are all on the ballot. The winner will challenge Republican Governor Susana Martinez in the general election in November. The polls are open from 7 this morning until 7 tonight. There are a number of other races on the ballot as well. All the information about that and where to cast your ballot is on KRQE.com. And the U.S. Justice Department will be monitoring today's elections here in New Mexico. The DOJ says it's monitoring the elections in Cibola County to make sure it's complying with the Voting Rights Act and other voting laws. And they'll have observers at random polling places. The DOJ is doing the same monitoring in 2 counties in California. Liz?
We have learned that some high school seniors used in a unique way to send a strong message to the state about education reforms. You see, instead of writing essays like they were supposed to in their end of course exams, some APS students wrote harsh letters addressed to the PED, the governor, and Education Secretary designate Hannah Scandera. Students claimed the standardized tests are a huge waste of resources and that grading teachers by the scores is unrealistic. But the tests are actually graded by Albuquerque Public Schools. Since the PED doesn't see the tests, their concerns may not even be heard.
Well, I certainly hope they will, but I absolutely have no confidence that they will. They have not listened to us. They've ignored emails from teachers since teachers got their scores. They've ignored superintendents. They've shushed school board members.
Since the tests are graded by the district, there is no word yet if any of the students would have points deducted because they did not follow the test's instructions how they were supposed to.